guys. Very exciting. Today is our third session. We're just waiting a sec. I'm just gonna talk for a second. Anyway, our third
notification.
No.
I just got it.
Okay.
Just
We're probably behind a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to welcome everybody to our third edition, Friendly Hobbies third edition of 3D printing basics and 3D design basics. Today we are going to talk about Simplify 3D. Okay. Simplify 3D is a slicer. So you have your model, and I think we talked about this in one of those, but we're going to get a little more in depth today. You have your model that's a solid that it makes, and it has to know how to divide that up into layers because the 3D printer does layers, and they call that a slicer. So it slices it up and then sends it to the printer to do each layer of the slice. So slicers. So there's some free slicers. Cura, a big one everybody uses. Prusa slicer just came out, which is very good, but nothing compares to Simplify 3D. You get what you pay for. It's $150. We don't make anything. You just go to their site, download it, but it does allow 2 users. So you can, we've had people even split it up, 75 each. But anybody who's ever been on Cura or the other slicers and then went to Simplify 3D has never said it wasn't worth every cent. It's worth every cent because time is money, and it makes your life super easy compared to the other ones. They're good, but they're not spectacular like Simplify. And we talked about, I think, not the last session before, on their website, the troubleshooting guide, and it really is geared towards their software, of course, but you can fix a lot of problems. And I'll tell you what, 99% of the time, I never touch the settings, because if you put your printer in, your artillery, Sidewinder, your Genius, we have a couple of Creality, the Big Max, you import the profile, you don't touch it because it's pretty much perfect. The only thing you do is how full do I want it, how thick do I want my lines, medium, fast, slow. We do 99%. I use 99% a lot, but we do 99% in medium, 0.2. Okay. All right. So that's one of the things about Simplify 3D, and you can see the other great thing is you see I have 2 instances on my desktop at the same time. We have run 5 printers at one time with 1 license of Simplify 3D with 5 USB outlets, and they all ran independently perfectly. Never had a problem, and we can do our work while the printers are running. It's very rare that Brian or I don't have 2 to 3 printers hooked up to one computer via USB running Simplify 3D all at one time. And like, for instance, like this one over on the right, maybe that's the printer closest to me, and then this one on the left is the printer a little farther away or a little down the desktop way. And all you have to do that is to, here, let me slide this over. You connect different ports. When you have the printers hooked up, it will show multiple ports for multiple printers. They all work. So it's a beautiful thing. So that is another great feature that we love about Simplify 3D. We have a lot of trouble in Cura. Just when you plug in the USB, connecting, it takes a couple times. You got to reboot. Well, with Simplify 3D, move this over there. Thank you. With Simplify 3D, as long as you have the settings right, the baud rate mainly, connects instantly. I've never had problems with it. It's the greatest. Okay, so let's get into the using of Simplify 3D. Let's start with the basics, okay? Now, a lot of you know this, and I'll make it quick because I want to get into the basics quick, but the advanced stuff a little more in depth. And if you guys leave comments or anything about what you want, we can do a full session on just doing Paw Scripts or doing supports or, settings. So whatever you guys want. But today is going to be a run through of a few of our favorite features that we really like. Okay? So first of all, before we get to that, let's talk about this space and this space. This is where you bring in the model, the STL file. You get it from Thingiverse. You made it in Tinkercad, but that is where you would import an STL file. That's the file, and you can see the representation. This just happens to be our Golden Knights keychain that we give to everybody. We print these out, we give them out.
Go Knights, go!
Thank you, Brian. We're sad with no hockey. Anyway, so he made me lose my train of thought. Okay, so that's the model. There it is, represented on your bed, beautiful as can be. Now, what do I want to do with it? How fast do I am going to add a process, okay? Now, in our last lesson, we showed how do you pick what printer that you have and set it up. So we're not going to do that in this thing. This is the settings, the model of the settings, where they call it the process. So I'm going to add a process, and here we go. It says artillery, Sidewinder. I'm live on video. Sidewinder X1, and I don't want this 100%. There's no need for this to be 100%. We can go 20%, let's say, okay? I could do 10%. There's no need for strength. And I want to print in PLA, and I want it medium. Like I said, 0.2 is medium, meaning the layer height. There's 0.3, 0.2, 0.1. We hardly ever print in 0.1, which is the high, because it takes forever, and it doesn't look that much greater. Medium and 10%. Like I said earlier, that is pretty much all I ever touch in here, unless I'm doing something very advanced. Okay, and maybe you set your temperature. Now, in Vegas, we always tell this to all our customers. We always print the extruder at 230, which seems high to everybody, and the bed at 60. The reason we print high like that is because everybody's always running their air conditioners, things blowing on it. We tested every temperature, every which way but loose, and we found that 230 is great for PLA and TPU. So try it out. You'll really, really like it, and you'll see that you get a little bit better results. Okay? So let's talk. Okay, so model and process. Does anybody have any questions or anything yet? Anybody? No? Not yet. Okay. Okay. The next thing we want to talk about is, let's say that when you are doing models in Simplify 3D, this is a model that we sell to. This is a company that does like a small Uber company, and we sell them lighted signs to put in their cars. So this model is very interesting. I'm going to go ahead and expand it out so everybody can see. Okay, this model is very interesting because it does a lot of things all in one shot. First of all, supports. Okay, so I'm going to undo the supports here. Supports are, well, let me undo it and I'll show you. Okay, remove existing supports. Clear all supports. All right. Now, if you look at this model, the edge right there, the edge is a straight 90-degree angle, right? So when hot plastic goes over to try to print this, because it's hot, it's just going to droop down and fall off and not look good. So Simplify 3D, all slicers have supports, and these are little plastic pieces that it will automatically generate, or you can manually generate these to hold that up, and they peel off very easily, and you can actually do the settings. But again, Simplify 3D's generic preset settings for supports are quite spectacular. So watch this, okay? So all around the edges, I have this 45, and I don't want a sloppy edge of this. Actually, and just so a little explanation, this piece is what we make our LED lit signs out of. This is the top, and that snap right there is what snaps. We have a bottom piece that we put the LEDs in, and this snaps it into place. So there's no gluing, it just snaps in. This was designed in Fusion 360. And we'll get into that in one of the lessons. Tinkercad's great, but some of the advanced things you want to do are done in Fusion. And there's a way to get that for free as well. All right, so let's go ahead and put some supports on here. Well, good old Simplify 3D has generate automatic supports. And you can do that, and then see there's all these settings. I don't mess with them. Generate automatic supports, done. Look at this. See how they're like little serrated edges? Well, that makes it real easy to peel off. And it knows what to do on these edges so that you don't have a sloppy bottom. It just pulls off really nice and neat. So when this is done, it takes longer, of course, but you're going to have a very, very clean product when you're done, a model, 3D print when you're done, okay? Now let's say that sometimes when you generate automatic supports, it'll put them in weird places. Well, look at this. You can remove, add, manually do it. I can simply remove existing supports, and I can just do that. Or I can remove them all from that little snap grid if I wanted to. Or I did one by mistake. Well, I can go and add new support structure, and it does it for you automatically. See that? See how it fits it to size for you? It's really, 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 really awesome. Love it. Okay, so remove. You can clear all. Here's the clear all supports. Here's the generate automatic supports, and then some manual stuff. I found this very cool one time. This lets you, let's say you have a model, and I want to make a different sign, so I can export. Well, let's say I customize these, and I took off 20, but I don't want to do that every time. So I can export the supports and save it as a name. Next time I bring this model in, I can import those supports, and it'll be just exactly how I set it up. So really cool stuff. I'm going fast. Spend a little time on YouTube, and you'll find this is really helpful stuff, okay? And you'll get it, which is cool. All right, so let me show you one other thing. Let's say that I wanted to make, well, let's do this first. What if I want to size this? What if I want to, they called and said, you know what, we need them a little smaller. Well, I could go back in and remodel it, but you could also just double click on it, and then you have your X, Y, and Z settings. So I can just simply change this to 50%, and it makes it 50%. Okay? So now, but here's the cool thing. That's easy, right? Let's put it back to 100%. Let's say that, you know, Filament has tolerance. Let's say it was just a little too big. I used a different filament than I did for the box, and it just didn't fit right. Well, I just need a little bit off these two sides. Well, look right here, uniform scaling. All right, so I'm going to uncheck that. And then we see here we have the x-axis, the y, and the z. And we got a question coming up pretty soon, so pay attention, guys, because we're giving out another roll of free filament for the right answer, okay? All right, so let's say I just want to make this a hair shorter. So I'm looking here, and X, I can just bring down X a hair while it will leave these the same. So I'm going to do it drastically so you can kind of see, and there it goes. So now these are the same, the height is the same, but I took the X size off. I took that down to 50%. But in reality, maybe we want to do 99%. So we just took a little bit off. And in fact, instead of percent, you can say, well, you know what? I need a 0.5 millimeter off of that. That's all I want. Or let's say a millimeter. So I'll just change that to 164. So you can do it by measurement or percentage. Now look what it did to me. It automatically checked uniform scale and did them all. So you got to watch that and put this back to 100 and this back to 100. But you have the 99.39 there, and that made the x-axis just a little shorter for you. We use that a lot on a lot of things. If you're making multiple pieces and something doesn't come out right, the lid doesn't fit the bottom or whatever, you come in and you do 99% and then try it again. It sucks on big, long prints, but you know, if it has to be done, it has to be done. And that's a good way to save you instead of going back into Tinker or Fusion and redoing it. If it's a permanent thing, of course you want to fix. Oh, well, here's something really great. Watch this. Now I want to use this over and over. I'm going to use the same filament. I can save this model over, or as an additional, right here I can say export model, and it will export it as this, and when it comes up it'll already be corrected. So that's another way you can do it. You can take this model. Am I getting too complicated or going too fast? Okay. So I can export that model, and next time I know it, I'd name it, let's say, Nomad rides X at 99%, or whatever I want to do. So I'd have the old one that I still had, and then, so Simplify 3D can actually model for you to an extent by doing what we just did. Now, what if I wanted to print 2 of these? Well, Simplify makes it real easy. You simply just edit, duplicate models. How many do you need? I want 2, so that'll make it 3. That's not going to fit on the bed. And there it made, simple as that, it made 3 more instances. And then I'm going to hit center and arrange, and it will arrange them. Okay? These are too big, but that's how you would do it for duplicating. That's another great thing about it. We do that with the keychains. We'll make 10 on a bed or whatever. Okay? So let's delete these. Let's delete this and this. All right. Now look, it's all miscombobulated. Center and arrange again, and it's perfect. Okay? All right. Now, let me get back into my keychain. All right. So here comes the question, guys. How do I duplicate this? First one to answer this. The quickest way to duplicate this to make 5 of these wins the roll of filament today. Okay? So get your answers in. Brian said it has to be. Do what?
Just ask the question one more time.
Okay, yeah, that would be nice, huh? Okay. The question is, how do I take this model, and what is the quickest way to duplicate it? The most efficient and quick way to make 5 of these. Okay? All right. We talked about sizing. There was something else in here I wanted to do. Oh, okay. So let's go ahead and answer that, and I'm going to move on real quick. Okay. All right. So now I have 3 of them. I'm going to center and arrange. Okay. Now, I want to show you guys, sometimes if you put, let's say I wanted to do like a bunch of them at one time, right? Okay. What happens when you do something like this? Okay. If you have one screw up on one, I'm going to remove a few here. If one of these screws up on the printing, this one comes loose, or the whole batch is messed up. The whole batch is messed up, and you're 4 hours into it, and you just messed up your whole batch. There's a great solution for this. All right, so I'm going to reduce it back down to 2, and I'm going to show you what to do. This is called multiple processes. Okay, so let me get rid of a bunch of these. Okay, and then we'll center and arrange. Now, I'm going to print these. Instead of printing both these, layer, 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 I want to print them one at a time. Okay, and I'm moving this over here, and I'm going to tell you the reason here in just a second. And I'm gonna move this one over a little bit out of the way of the other. Okay, so now look at this. Okay, I want to print this one first, and this one second. Okay, and my dad, he is right behind me. I hope everybody saw him. Say hi, Dad. Hi, Dad. Hi, Dad. Okay, so I want to print these one at a time, and literally, once this is done, it's going to move over to this. I could actually take it off the bed while it's still printing. Okay, so when we're making these keychains, we do them one at a time, and people, when we give them out, sometimes people are waiting or whatever. Okay, so here's what we do. Super simple. Okay, let's do this one. All right, so here's the process that we talked about. When I click on the process, notice it highlights both, but I only want to do this one. So I'm going to double click on it and look down here at this beautiful little secret that some know and some don't. Right there. See select models? It's got both models. I want to uncheck one. Okay? All right. Now watch what happens when I click OK. Now I click on the process. See how it's purple, our favorite color? That's the one that's going to print in this process. Now I'm going to click add again, and I'm going to do select models. and I'm going to select none, and I'm going to select the second one now. Okay? Now look what happens. It's going to do process 1. Then when that's done, it's going to move over here and do process 2. This is why they're far apart, because the printer head's going to be moving around. If it went right here, it probably pieces of the head would hit that piece and mess up your printer and your thing. So you've got to strategically lay them out so that your printer doesn't hit it. And just do more space than you think till you kind of watch the printer. You know, I can usually lay 9 or 12 of these out on a bed just by spacing them pretty good. Okay, now here's how you get this to work. All right, so I'm going to say prepare to print. Now when I say prepare to print, it's going to give me an option here. Which processes do I want to do? I want to do both processes, so I'm going to select all. Okay, now you can, if I say layer by layer, then that means it's going to go here, one layer, here, one layer, here, one layer, here, one layer. I want sequential printing object by object. Print this object, then when you're done, print this object. Now look at this thing. See that 22 millimeters? That is the clearance of, so if you've got something really tall on the back, you want to make sure the head clears it before it starts on the other one. So we need to know how high these keychains are so that we put the proper amount of clearance. If you don't put the proper amount of clearance, it's going to default and do it layer by layer, not piece by piece. So watch this. I am going to double click and it brings up my box. Well, guess, look at this. My height is 350, 3.50 millimeters. So all I have to do is put in 3.5 in that spot. Again, prepare to print. Select all. Make sure our head clears the thing after it's done with the first one. Click OK. And there we are. Now look, this is what's cool. Watch this. You can, this is like a little automatic play meter, right? Okay, look, it starts here. It's going to completely do this one, and then when it's done, it's going to move over and start that one. That's how you do multiple processes. That will save your buns many times from starting 20 pieces and then one screws up and the whole batch is gone and you wasted 5 hours. So we use that quite extensively here at Friendly Hobbies. Okay? All right, moving on. Another great thing is that you do not have to have a color printer to do multiple colors. And email us at the end of this session, and we are going to send you a link to our Google Drive that we have for customers, and it will have this, what we call Paw Script in it, which I'm going to show you right now, plus tons of things to print, manuals, troubleshooting guides, all kinds of stuff. So anybody that wants to get a link to that, send us an email and we'll send the link back to you. All right, so let's delete our multiple processes here to just kind of simplify what we're doing. And we want to make this, what color, that's the colors. What colors, that's a question. What colors do we want to make this? We want to make the bottom black and the top gold, right? Okay, so here's how you do it, all right? You notice that this goes for so many, a certain height, and then the letters take over, right? Okay, so here's how you do it. So we're going to pretend we're printing it. Watch this. Prepare to print. Now look right here. It's 3.44 millimeters complete is the total height of it. And right here, see how it says layers? It's telling me each layer. Okay? So, okay, now look at there. On layer 8, it's still doing the block. At layer 9, still no change. Layer 10, nothing. 11, there, the letters start to appear. So I wouldn't do it there. I would do 12 when I make it pause. I'm going to make it pause at 12. The head will go over to here, the extruder. It will stop. You change the filament to the gold, and then it'll say pause on the screen, and you'll resume. Let me give you a big hint. Do not move that extruder head. It's locked in, but it isn't. So be super gentle when changing that filament. You move it a nanometer, you just messed up the whole print. It'll be off and screwed up. So practice this with something very small. that doesn't take 2 hours. Something that, a little cube that takes 3 minutes or 10 minutes, and change it halfway through. That's the way to practice Paw Script. All right, so now we're going to remember that at layer 12, I'm pointing to the screen. Let me use the mouse. At layer 12, I want to change to the gold. So we had this thing that we got off of YouTube. I can't remember the user's name. I'm sorry. We'll put a link to it that gave us this Paw Script. So I'm going to double click on my process. And now, you know, I said we don't get into the, but we're going to look down here and we don't have a Paw Script. So I have, let me do this, artillery with pause. All right. All right. So now there, if this is on YouTube, this is on our Google Drive, this little thing that you copy and paste in here, and you need this whole line. And all you have to do is change 2 numbers, this layer and this layer. And we said 12, so we're going to change this to 12, and we're going to change this to 12. And that's it. It's simple as that. And when it gets to 12, it's going to move over and let you change the filament. So let's see what that's going to look like. And now see this craziness over here? That's telling you what it's doing when. That will come in very handy. But this helps you to current process. Okay? Oh, it doesn't do it for this. Which one is it that does it? Maybe we don't see it with the Paw Script. I thought we did. No. Okay, so we can't see when it's going to change. But, and that's why I said practice. Make sure your Paw Script's working and all that. So it's going to print, stop at 12, let me change, and that's Paw Scripts. And you can do multiple Paw Scripts. You could copy and paste this again and again and make it, where's one of our little tool? Okay, this is one of our tool trays. We actually do, I think, 3 to 4 pauses in this. Can you see that okay? First of all, we pause it and we put magnets in it. Okay, so it's a magnetic. Is this one of the magnet ones? Yeah. So we pause it a layer, drop little magnets in it. Yeah, that's the magnetic one. Drop magnets in it. Then we pause again and add a gold layer. And then we pause again and add a black on top. So that's a 4 Paw Script just by copy and pasting those scripts right here. So I would just simply do this, copy, and paste. And then let's say this was layer 5 right here. We do both those. And then we want to pause again on layer 10, and it will stop both times and let you change it. And then you get really cool, awesome results like this. One of our we give these out to customers too. It's our Friendly Hobbies magnetic parts tray. These are great. Okay, how are we on time, everybody? Oh, we're out of time. Okay, let me check my little notes here. Yes, that's pretty much it. Multiple processes. One last thing I want to show you is how do you print. This lets you when you're connected to the printer, but this is where you go to put that on your SD card. You can't print an STL file model. You have to have a sliced up G code when you put this in the printer, and this is where you do it. Instead of clicking print, you say save to disk, put your SD card in, go pop it in your printer and hit print, and it works. Everybody, we will, do we have a winner? No, not yet. Okay, so just leave your answers online on the comments and we'll take care of it. Thank you so much for joining us. Like and share. We're going to also post this to YouTube so you can subscribe and like and try to get really good content for you. Thanks so much, guys, for joining us, and we will see you next time. Thanks again.
We'll see you Friday.